young girl, scarcely 16. Thanks to my parents, lots of places I've seen, but never a place that I love as well as my Virgil home 'neath the maiden tea hill. My Virgil home, that heaven of mine, the home of my parents, so loving and kind. I love them so, and I always will, and my Virgil home 'neath the maiden tea hill. The harbor's so pretty in the morning sunshine, as the seabirds and robins their sweet notes entwine. The fishing gulls shine in the water so still, here in my home 'neath the maiden tea hill. When I had trouble or if I was sad, I always found comfort from good friends I had. They knew that I loved them and I always will, and my Virgil home 'neath the maiden tea hill. My Virgil home, that heaven of mine, the home of my parents, so loving and kind. I love them so, and I always will, and my Virgil home 'neath the maiden tea hill. With her fishery failing, I may have to roam. Dear God, how I'd hate to leave my dear home, but each night in memory, sure I'll see it still. My Virgil home 'neath the maiden tea hill. My Virgil home, that heaven of mine, the home of my parents, so loving and kind. I love them so, and I always will, and my Virgil home 'neath the maiden tea hill.
Good evening. Welcome to This Week in Review. Tonight's stories include interview with MHA for Burgeo and Lapoille, Bill Ramsey, update on the Comfort Station dumping station being constructed at the park, Communication for Survival Week for Burgeo is coming up in October, the Anglican Vestry are selling tickets on this painting. These stories and more coming up after this.
Just a minute now, Bessy's singing out to me. Oh, yes, it's Bessie. What say, old dear? You're going up to Custom Carpet to look for some borders and paper to match your new carpet. Wait for me, because I'm coming too. I love to go up there. Yes, sir, Custom Carpet is some nice place. If you don't know what I'm talking about, your neighbor do. Got to go now before Bessie goes and leave me. Wait for me, Bessie, because I'm going to Custom Carpet too. Yes, sir.
Work is continuing on the Comfort Station dumping station at Sandbanks Provincial Park. This past week, workers have been working at the septic system. The foundation for the building has been poured and covered with styrofoam insulation. Styrofoam insulation. Also, the interior of the foundation has been leveled up. The crew are currently working on the septic system for the station. The hole for the septic system has been dug to the rear of the foundation on the right-hand side. Workers are currently working at putting up the forms to pour the septic tank for the system. Despite a few setbacks and delays in getting the project started, work is progressing nicely. After a summer's recess, Burgeo's Communication for Survival Committee are getting back to it. Resource persons for the project, Fred Campbell and Bruce Gilbert, were in Burgeo last week. During that time, Communication for Survival Week here in Burgeo was discussed. Communication for Survival Week will be held here in Burgeo from October 14th to 19th. During that week, there will be a black and white photo display at the high school. The photos on display will be taken and developed by Burgeo residents. There will also be a workshop for the public on the use of a scanner for scanning photos to use on flyers, posters, and brochures. In cooperation with Burgeo Broadcasting System, 3 interactive television programs will be put off on Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. These programs will give you a chance to call in and express your views on the issues discussed. The topics of these programs include tourism in Burgeo, Zone 9 and Burgeo's role in it, the future of Burgeo. Included in this program will be things such as a youth panel, information on the Industrial Adjustment Services progress, update on issues relevant to the fishery, changes to UIC, etc. Also during the interactive programs, there will be a variety of entertainment. For more information on Communication for Survival or to get involved, contact any member of the Communication for Survival Committee here in Burgeo. They are Dave Cooper, Florence Courtney, Linda Benight, Barb Barter, Edith Anderson, Ann Parsons, and Bruce Thatcher. Stay tuned for more of This Week in Review coming up after this.
Busy wanted a carrot for the spare bedroom. She wanted a pretty rose color. She said, well, see, boy, when we got up there, they had so many pretty colors, she didn't know what to choose from. I swear they had 100 or more color samples there. Oh, man, it was unbelievable. Well, when we ended up, we bought enough carpet to do the old house. My son, the old place looks something nice now, painted carpet right through. Everything looks brand new. Busy is right pleased. Come to think of it, I is too. Yes, sir, for your painting and flooring needs, go to Custom Carpet. You'll be so glad you did.
The Anglican Church Vestry are selling tickets on a painting by a local artist. Tickets on this framed oil painting are being sold by the Anglican Church Vestry at a cost of $1 each, or 3 for $2. The painting, which measures 18 inches by 24 inches, was donated to the Anglican Church by its painter, Brian Dix. Tickets can be purchased from any member of the vestry or at some stores around town. The painting itself is on display at Scotiabank. The lucky ticket will be drawn during the Anglican Church's Harvest Fair. Bill Ramsey, MHA for the District of Burgeo and Lapoille, was in town on Wednesday and Thursday of this past week. I spoke with Mr. Ramsey about some of the current issues facing our community. Speaking with me in the studio today is MHA for Burgeo and Lapoille, Bill Ramsey. Welcome to our studio, Mr. Ramsey.
Thank you.
What was the nature of your visit to Burgeo at this time?
Oh, just a regular constituency clinic for individuals, groups that want to meet with me, this sort of thing. As you recall, during the election campaign, I committed that this would be a regular thing on a standard visit, at the very least once every 2 or 3 months, and this is what I've been doing and keeping going since the election in February. And we've had good results. A lot of people coming in to see me with various things, and a lot of things require face-to-face contact and are much better done in person than they are on the phone, that sort of thing. And also, it gives you a chance to get out around the community and talk to people that you know and get a good idea of what people are thinking and what they think of some of the current issues before government and also other issues that are provincial and national for that matter.
Have you heard anything on the proposal currently before the federal government by Seafreeze concerning the Burgeo fish plant?
Well, I've had some discussions with some of the players involved, both from the federal member, Roger Simmons, and as well with some company officials. I've seen some of the correspondence that has been going back and forth. I'm pleased with the progress. The recent granting of a crab license, of course, there previously, and I don't think I'd been back to Burgeo's just once since that time, and we were very pleased to be able to assist that way. And I think that was pretty well the icing on the cake, to be able to do that, to help make sure that the plant does reopen. In talking to Sea Freeze, in fact, I was into their offices in Corner Brook on Friday past, and had a brief chat, and just to pull myself back up to speed on everything, because through the summer, of course, things with summer people on summer vacation and that sort of thing, you get things slowing down. It seems not only in government but pretty well overall, and they're not fully satisfied with all that they're hearing, but I think they have confidence, according to what they're telling me anyway, that you will see it reopening sometime in the winter, on a limited basis, to get some of the new species that they have moving, and working through the plant. So I'm very optimistic about the prospects, and of course that's part of it, because what we're trying to do with the fishery is move plants to year-round operations, where Burgeo at one time had one of the most heavily utilized operations in the province, to a point where people couldn't even get a vacation at times. That is not the standard everywhere else, and we're hopeful that we can move people away from the fishery as a prospect making work for people, and make it a career orientated thing where fish plants will be involved in a lot of different species, the underutilized species type concept, to make sure that the times when they're not doing the standard ground fish and other species that they would normally do, that they will have an opportunity through the various other species that they're processing. So as long as we get full cooperation, as long as the species that are out there can be harvested, because of course they need to find out from fisheries biologists, every different thing you take out of the sea, it has an effect on that ecosystem. And this is a lot of the resistance that we're finding with the federal government, is if you're going to go for a new species, how will that affect the overall balance in the ocean? And this is the key now that we find a lot of resistance from them. There's almost like a gun-shy type situation with the bureaucracy, because where they've in the past thought they were doing the right thing, and of course now we have to have a moratorium to allow the stocks to recover. So this is where they're a lot more shy about doing it than they would normally have been. We're hopeful that that'll all come together, that they will find enough different species to make it a year-round operation, and hopefully bring it back to the way it was in the past, albeit it'll be with, I would think, less employees, but certainly it'll be a good, viable, profit-making operation, or none of us, I don't think, can expect businesses to invest their money.
For the past several weeks, the tags checks here in Burgeo have been late arriving, causing problems and inconveniencing tags recipients. Do you know the reason why the checks have been late?
Well, I've received a number of calls from people who were inconvenienced by it, and people who were angry about the situation. To understand, Canada Post, of course, is a federal government crown corporation, and it operates and answers to the federal minister of responsible for Canada Post, usually the Minister of Supplies and Services. Even though it's not a provincial area, when I receive a call about it, I don't just tell them to call their federal member. When I can, I do check it out, and at times have made arrangements for, and one of these recent times we did make arrangements for a late delivery of the tags checks. An extra trip was made, and that kind of thing, you shouldn't have to do it very often. The system should allow those checks to be delivered on time. And people sometimes come to a conclusion that someone is holding these up, on purpose, and nothing could be further from the truth. But when you're expecting your check and it doesn't show up on time and you get angry about it, I can understand people coming to that conclusion, but I do certainly think that there's no one interfering with it. In some cases, when there's a holiday in a given week, it delays them by a day, so the day people are expecting them, they don't show up. I know, in fact, one of the weeks when they were expecting them on a certain day here, even though they were a day late, they came here earlier than they did in the rest of the district out in the Fort aux Basques area. So some understanding is required, but also I think that we have to make sure that Canada Post is aware and makes sure that if they have to adjust schedules at times of the delivery vehicles in order to determine and track down where these things are, they could save the extra trip. It might throw a schedule off for a day, maybe once every couple weeks, but I mean, it would certainly be helpful because there is such a dependency on tags checks in the area, and people are expecting them. They have their month and their bill payments planned around the receipt of this money. If the money doesn't come in on time, I mean, no one can expect people to manage when they're, everyone cuts it right to the bone, and not very many people who are in receipt of tags have any other way of getting income, and usually if they're anything like you and I, like I say, it's payday to payday. You just go along and you look after the expenses you have for your kids, and especially with school starting up, I can really understand a lot of the frustration because getting kids geared up for school is a very expensive proposition.
So are other communities experiencing similar problems?
Some have. Some other communities, other members, MHAs that I've talked to, have had similar type things happen. So it's not just Burgeo that experiences this. There are others that, and a lot of it has to do, I guess, with the way that mail is delivered. You have mail distributed to Burgeo, I think generally goes through Stephenville. A lot of the mail that's distributed to Port-aux-Basques generally comes from Corner Brook. So it's a different type of thing depending on the community you're in and the postal code situation. I think in one case, from what I was told, and we, in some of the questioning that we did about it, one of the mail bags was inadvertently sent out to Port-aux-Basques, one of the Burgeo mail bags, and it had to do with a misinterpretation of the postal code. I think the postal codes are very close, one BO and one CO, I think it is, and that, the closeness of the postal codes caused the mix-up, and then that cost a day. So all of these things certainly add up to a system that they need to pay closer attention to because of the importance of these checks to the people in the area. And it's not just Burgeo. I mean, I certainly have heard the stories from other members and other members' secretaries who've taken a lot of calls in this kind of case. So hopefully with a bit of patience and some improvements that Canada Post will make. And I know that the MP's office has also received a lot of inquiries for it, and ultimately they're the ones who hold the responsibility to deal with Canada Post directly on this. Notwithstanding that, we still do, when called, we always inquire with Canada Post to find out what's caused the problem and to ask Canada Post to certainly do what you can to try to prevent this from happening again because it causes so much inconvenience for people.
Where do things stand with respect to a food fishery for this fall?
Well, the government of Newfoundland and Labrador has now taken a position. In the past, we wanted to make sure that the food fishery opened only if the commercial fishery was ready to open. And right now we've said, well, we would support a limited food fishery in this fall. In the past, that has not been the case because we didn't feel that there was enough scientific evidence to prove that there had been enough fish back. Based on all of the reports that we have, it has now reached the stage where a limited food fishery that gives an opportunity for individuals who have traditionally fished and people who have traditionally gone out and gotten into the fishery, taken some codfish and that should be able to go and get some for the winter. There's a number of conditions, of course, that we think should be there, and of course it's up to DFO and the federal government to decide how this is done, but we are very supportive of having it set up in such a way so that there's no free-for-all, that you don't have the large numbers of people who've never been on the water out there endangering themselves, and also that there's not a huge amount of pressure that will damage the commercial fishery through the way that a food fishery is done. Keeping that in mind, because if we remember the last food fishery when it was done, there was a lot of activity that wouldn't normally, because there was so much focus on it. Everyone wanted to go out and get a fish, even those that normally hadn't. And not to deny anyone the opportunity to go, but the problem was one of having people out there endangering. I know the search and rescue had to go out a couple times, people that were out there and lost in fog and stuff like this, and that had normally not been out there. And the other thing to be very concerned about is not endangering the commercial fishery, because ultimately the fishery is a resource for the benefit of all of us through the provision of employment for fishermen and plant workers. And that is the ultimate that we have to protect, to make sure that that is available for these people who are involved in the fishing industry, and to make sure that a food fishery does not jeopardize that in any way. So we're supportive of it. Ultimately, the federal minister will make a decision. He has stated over the last little while that he is out talking to people, trying to determine how he should go about it, and we're expecting that a decision will be made sometime in the very near future.
Okay, Mr. Ramsey, with respect to the park, one common comment made by tourists at Sandbanks Park this summer is that they didn't even know the park existed. Comments such as this came from people who lived as close as Stephenville. Is there anything that can be done to get signs erected on the Trans-Canada Highway informing tourists that the park is there?
Yeah, in fact, based on what a lot of people have been saying to me, that would certainly be a wise thing for the Department of Tourism to do. It would help boost tourism here. And I can understand people's situation, because I knew about Sandbanks Park only because I knew some people who were from Burgeo and traveled to Burgeo frequently before I came to represent this area. But I know the average person, and I've been out promoting it, and they've been saying the same thing that you're telling me, that, and people in Port aux Basques and people in Stephenville. And we have to look that majority of our travelers that come to use provincial parks are people from our own province. And so we've got to do a lot of promotion from within. Some good signage on the Trans-Canada Highway would certainly help. And I mean, it's a treasure that you have there in the Sandbanks Park. It's something that everyone would certainly be better off for having seen and even had an opportunity to stay there. I know when the Premier visited, he was interested in coming down this summer. I don't know if he managed. He was out here on the West Coast traveling about and trying to keep him and his family out around, just driving around and that. And I haven't talked to him since to see if he managed to get down here, but certainly he'd hoped to be able to get down here this summer as well, because he was amazed at the beauty of the Sandbanks Park. So we can increase the usability of the park, the overall quality of it, I guess, through putting some money into it as we have. And now we've got to make sure that once we've got it where we want it and then get it improved to a certain stage, that we then do whatever we can to attract the tourists down to the area and promote it as much as possible in the province. Signage is one way. Another way is through making sure that the tourist information officers throughout the province have a good awareness of it and where it is. It's one of the few sandy beach parks in the whole system. And it's such a, like I say, such a pretty park and a beautiful area. And the people here, send tourists away with an amazing story to tell. I've just heard a story from one of the local business people here about a bus tour that was here this summer and how much fun that they had. And the Burgeo was the delight of their whole trip all across the United States and on through the Atlantic provinces. So, I mean, there's something here to offer, and the people are part of it. And we have to promote that to make sure that we get more and more people coming down to try it and keep a steady flow of people. We don't want to get more people than we can manage, because that creates further problems too. But a steady flow of people that'll keep the place full and increase the visitation, and then help local businesses along the way with the purchases that people make. And certainly I think that government has to do more. I intend to do the letter writing, the visiting of the people responsible for doing these things, to lobby on behalf of the people of the area. And I've received correspondence on this issue that I will be following up on in order to ensure that that is done.
Okay, Mr. Ramsey, is there anything else you'd like to add?
Well, David, thank you for the opportunity to be here with you today. Also, just wanted to thank all of the people who've called and allowed us to help them out with a number of different things. We've had quite a response from the people of Burgeo and are pleased to be able to assist wherever possible. We've had really good response to the installation of our toll-free number, the 1-800 number, they were just originally installed in January of this year, and we've had an amazing use of those, a lot more than when we used to receive the collect calls. Not everyone seems to know the number. It's 1-800-518-9479 is the number, and we're pleased to take your calls. When my assistant Jane is on the phone, it'll kick into a message manager, or if she has to leave the office for any reason during the day, and we ask people to leave a message. Some people don't like using the machines, but we're very careful. We log all the calls, and we get back to everybody to make sure that their call is responded to. And also the same thing goes for correspondence. Of course, the mailing address is Bill Ramsey, MHA, Confederation Building, Box 8700, and the postal code is A1B4J6. And really, I might mention also anyone that wants information on any government program or anything of that nature, something they hear in the news they'd like further information on, we're more than glad to help them out with that. And finally, we also assist with the birth certificates if people need those for any reason. It's just downstairs from our office, so it's very easy for us to assist. And also in helping people who have 50th anniversary certificate requests from the Premier's office, my own office, and the Governor General and the MP as well. We can coordinate that if they want. They can call our office or send a fax in or even write us, and we would be glad. We'd like a little bit of notice. We have done them on very short notice, but if the more notice you give us, the more we can guarantee that the actual document will be there, the certificate for the people concerned. And we're glad to be able to do that for people. It's nice when people have achieved those milestones. In the past, and we've continued with this, we do, through my office, we do 25th anniversary ones as well through my own office. And this day and age, a 25th anniversary is something to take note of and certainly celebrate, and we want to recognize that as well. There is no, I don't think you'll get one from the Premier's office or any other, but my own office, we do that as a service to the people of the district and are pleased to be able to do that. And of course, if it's just something someone wants to make a comment on some of the issues of the day, more than glad to take a phone call, receive a letter about all of these things. It's how I can do a better job for the people of the area, hearing exactly what their opinions and views are on the given issues that come up.
Okay, Mr. Ramsey, well, we'd like to thank you for coming in and speaking with us today.
Thank you very much, David.
Our guest today is MHA for Burgeo and Lapoille, Bill Ramsey. Hunting is going to be a common sport over the next few months, unless you were one of the lucky ones yesterday and got your animal on the first day of the season. If not, there are some safety rules that the Burgeo Ground Search and Rescue would like you to keep in mind. Before you leave home, let someone know where you're going and what time to expect you back. Always carry a compass and know how to use it. Take your rain gear with you at all times and always wear a sufficient amount of clothing for changing weather conditions. Always carry extra food, first aid kit, matches or lighter, fire starter, an axe, etc. Try to avoid the possibility of traveling alone. If you become lost, don't panic. Use your best survival tool, your head. Think survival only. Stay in the area where you are. Find shelter, gather firewood, use whatever is available to keep you warm. Don't ramble around, especially at night. You could become seriously hurt. Conserve your energy. Remember, if people know you're out there, a search will be organized. Stay with us for more of This Week in Review following these words from tonight's sponsor.
I was up to that new place the other day. Just up by the new hospital. Oh, yes, custom carpet. That's it. My son, you should see the stuff they got up there. They got all kinds of everything to do it with. Bessie, that's the wife. She would keep them on for ages to go up. Jerry, she said, it's not going to hurt you to go up and look around. So we went up. My son, I was amazed. The colors of paint you can get mixed up there is unreal. There's hundreds and hundreds of colors, the prettiest kind. And brushes and rollers, my son, don't be talking. There's rollers that's lint-free, rollers of melamine paint, and brushes for painting counters. Well, I could go on and on.
Off the Rack. The Terry Fox Run will be held on Sunday, September 22nd. This week as we scanned our tape racks, we came across a video of a Terry Fox run held in 1991. Here's a look back to 5 years ago, September 22nd, 1991. The money raised is used to help scientists find better and more successful cures for cancer. Last year, a little girl from our community, Tiffany Symes, was diagnosed as having cancer. She spent 13 weeks in Montreal and underwent chemotherapy and 3 surgeries. Due to the wonders of science, Tiffany is doing well. And at this year's Terry Fox run, at 23 months old, she has raised the most money for the run. Tiffany raised a total of $194 for this worthwhile cause. Hopefully, the money raised will help beat this dreaded disease.
Can hypnotize. When glory has faded, the dream is worth more than the prize. Twist and turn that flame of freedom burning bright. Knows all of the names, all of the games of the yellow, black and white. We gotta have faith to work it out, faith and hope. Without a doubt, give us strength to make us start and put a song in our heart. We're never gonna break down walls and build up prisons with the stone. You and I know this is what we'll build heaven on earth.
BBS Playbill. Tune in on Tuesday at 7 p.m. for a rebroadcast of Fortune Sounds. Try your luck on Wednesday at 7 p.m. by playing LOBA TV Bingo. Bingo will be followed by Surimi, An American Opportunity from the DFO Video Library. Join Pansy, Marie, and Melissa on Saturday morning at 11 a.m. for Pansy's Garden. This Week in Review will not be airing next week because I'll be on vacation. This Week in Review will be returning on September 29th. Stay tuned now for Fortune Sounds. For This Week in Review, I'm Dave Cooper. Good night.